Blog Talk Radio.
Hello, everyone. This is Lori Smith on Blog Talk Radio. It is 9:30 p.m. Wednesday at July 7th, and this is Child Abuse Prevention, Human Rights Abuse Prevention is Up to Us. I'm happy to be here. This is a 30-minute live internet streaming radio broadcast from blogtalkradio.com, and I have the chat room open if anybody would like to sit in there. And I'm glad to be here, glad to be able to continue to do these shows and get some information to people, whoever's tuning in. I almost have actually, I have over 6,500 shows listened to, so somebody is listening to the shows, and I really appreciate it. Yeah, there's no way for me to tell, exactly, who's listening, and it's just awesome, when I check in there to see just how many shows have been listened to, and I see the numbers climbing like that. It just gives me all the more reason to keep going. So thank you all very much for tuning into my shows. I really appreciate it. And if you'd like to be a guest on my show, just get hold of me, or if you have some questions and comments, you can leave them for me as a message on Blog Talk Radio here, or my my email address, or Facebook, various places you can get a hold of me. So thanks very much, and I really appreciate the support. Tonight I wanted to continue talking about strengthening families. It's an article I found at, I'll give you that link, www.childwelfare.gov/pubs, publications like PUBS, /res, RES, _guide, GUIDE, and then _2010, and then /guide. And it's called Strengthening Families and Communities 2010 Resource Guide. It's a great resource guide, and it's 86 pages long. We covered some of it on Monday night, and I wanted to continue looking through because it really gives us some basic information, really, regarding how people could, parents and caregivers can strengthen their own families. And it's just really great information for people if they haven't heard too much about it, just to sort of just give people ideas about how to maybe strengthen their own families. And so it's a great resource, and I'm passed it on Facebook, and I hope that others will pass the link on to other people as well who have children and families. And it just gives some real good information on how to avoid and really reduce the risk of abuse and neglect with children, and help parents to learn to cope and to strengthen their families, right? So this is just so important, because I really believe that a lot of child abuse could be really eliminated if the family unit was stronger, right? And I think in today's society we see a lot of broken families, broken homes, a lot of divorce, a lot of anger, and a lot of sadness and distress with lots and lots of families. And many times there's a lot of health issues in the family, could be some substance abuse issues, could be economic factors, or some type of criminal activity going on at home. All kinds of things happen to people. We know that's reality. And there's no such thing as a perfect parent or perfect child. And so, but the whole idea is that we, parents can learn how to cope and not lash out at their children, and not hurt their children, and learn to build these trusting and really awesome relationships with their kids. And then children, of course, should learn to have some respect for their parents, to learn that it's hard. It's a hard job to be a parent, but as long as the parents are looking for the children and doing the best they can with what they have, kids pretty much get that. And so it's only when a child feels like that the parents don't care about them, and they don't care about the outcome of their life, and are making it hard for them to manage on earth, by abusing them or neglecting them in some way, then there isn't a whole respect going to come back for those children. So the family just breaks down and breaks apart. It's very, very hard. I know so many people, including myself, who have been through that. And so there's ways that we can get some information to help ourselves, right? And this is just one really awesome article. So I wanted to finish that. I'm not a professional counselor or therapist or anything like that. I'm just a private citizen who pays to do my own blog talk shows. I'm a child rights advocate. I stand against abuse. I stand to save children's lives, to stop child abuse, right? So I'm continually studying and in between courses at MRU in Calgary. And so as soon as I can afford to go back and take my courses and continue on, I'll be doing that. So in the meantime, I continue to study all the time. I'm also the Canada Regional Director for Dreamcatchers for Abused Children, and that's a volunteer position, which I'm happy to be a part of. And it's, it's all about promoting awareness, education, and prevention of child abuse, right? So, I'm simply looking for information that's helpful and that is proactive, really, to help make a difference in this life and in people's lives, to help save children from a lifetime of abuse and problems dealing with, adult survivor issues and whatnot, right? We want to stop child abuse as soon as possible. The sooner, the better. Like today would be great, but that's just not going to happen because reality is what it is. But as long as we can, education, I really believe, is the key. And I thought, as long as I can be one more voice out there, just to get the word out and just to be one more voice to add to everyone else's voices, then I'd be happy to be able to do that. And so that's why I'm doing these shows. So you have to listen at your own discretion because the topics of abuse are very sensitive. It can trigger survivors of abuse and also people who are just not comfortable with the topics of abuse. Then you have to turn it off and listen at your own discretion. Please, if it's going to bother you, turn the show off. And if you're a young person under the age of 18, I ask that you have someone listen to the show, an adult, who can help you, right? Someone who cares about what you're doing online, a parent, a caregiver, a relative who actually really is concerned about, what you're doing online, and they can listen to this show or an archived show, one of my old shows, and see if it's something that you should really be listening to, because I don't know how young the people are listening to my shows, and I don't know where the Blog Talk players are. So I ask anyone under the age of 18 just to have permission and that it's okay that you listen to the show, as it's really got a lot of adult material in it. It's ultimately to stop child abuse and to help other survivors who have been through child abuse and experienced it and are working on their healing journey. But ultimately, there is a lot of adult content on here, and it could be, it could be scary for someone especially for a young child who has not heard a lot about child abuse or domestic violence and things like this. So it's very important that you have someone who's older who can listen to the show and help you if you have any questions. Perhaps a teacher, counselor at school, someone who can, help you to decide whether or not you should be listening. So we'll get on with this article that I found, and it's from, I'll give you the link again, www.childwelfare.gov. It's called Strengthening Family and Communities, 2010 Resource Guide. And we left off, they were talking about the three, I'll just go back. There was three actual areas that are very necessary for, the healthy development of a family, right? And that was nurturing, and they were talking about nurturing, and I'll see if I can find that again. It's stuff that's just so simple. Safety, stability, and nurturing, right? So the characteristics of healthy relationships. Safety refers to the extent to which a child is free from fear from physical or psychological harm with his or her social and physical environment. And stability, this refers to the degree of predictability and consistency in a child's environment. Families that are stable and have regular routines provide children with the consistency needed to lessen the impact of stressful experiences. And nurture. Nurture refers to the extent to which a parent or caregiver is available and able to sensitively respond to and meet the needs of their child. And I'll tell you right there, our family growing up, parents and all siblings, had none of those. There was no safety, there was no stability, and there was no nurturing. And so our parents really could have used this guide. I wish this guide would have been around, back in the 1960s, and even before that. That's the whole issue. So many families are not safe, they're not stable, and they're not nurturing. And so I would love to see more families become safe and stable and nurturing. I think it's a healthy way for children to grow up. Every child is going to experience some pain, and every person on the planet is going to experience some painful things, and that's part of life. But when the parents are not doing anything to provide a safe home, not trying to be stable mentally, or physically stable, not trying to nurture this child and to bring this child up to do the best that they can, and to let this child grow to be their own person, and to just nurture them along and appreciate them for who they are. When there's a lot of physical violence in the home, and there's a lot of verbal abuse in the home, a lot of psychological and mental abuse going on, it's a very stressful for children to grow up. And because you're speaking to one right now. So it's damage. And, I'm one out of 7 siblings, and I'm telling you, I'm probably Very lucky to still be here, first of all, because two of my siblings are gone due to the effects the abuse had on them. So, it's very, very hard on people and on children. And so that's why I hope that more families will get some information on how they can learn to cope and how they can learn to make some, good decision-making skills, because these are all behavioral issues, right? Learning how to cope, learning how to work as a family, to make decisions and work together. That's something we never saw our parents do. And they did not include the children, and they did not work together themselves. So we were all just very much separate entities within the home, all sort of fighting against each other. So it's very, just a very uncomfortable and not a happy place to be. So, you don't wish that for any family, right? And so that's why I hope that more people will get some good information and reach out and get some help. There's lots of help out there for parents who are struggling. And just because you're struggling doesn't mean that, you're the only one. I mean, there's so many people who are struggling and they don't want to hurt their children, and yet they do. And so there's ways that you can get help, so that you don't hurt your children and cause further destruction to your family. And, there's nothing wrong with reaching out and saying, I need help. You know what I mean? Page 20 of this actual resource guide is talking about the 5 protective factors. It's promoting the 5 protective factors. And this chapter provides background and guidance for service providers and others on exploring the 5 protective factors with parents. For each protective factor, you will find a brief background on why the protective factor is important for family and reducing the risk of abuse or neglect, suggested areas to explore, and language you use as you partner with parents to identify family strengths and needs, strategies and resources that may serve to strengthen families. For each protective factor, the focus is on helping parents identify and build on their own strengths and empowering them to identify the best strategies to help them enhance their parenting capacity. And this gives the provider a foundation for working in partnership with the parent and family to explore opportunities for growth and support. So this is awesome. 5 protective factors covered in this chapter are nurturing and attachment. Building a close bond helps parents better understand, respond to, and communicate with their children. So that's nurturing and attachment. Knowledge of parenting and of child and youth development. Parents learn what to look for at each age and how to help their children reach their full potential. And I think that's so important. Parental resilience, recognizing the signs of stress and enhancing problem skills can build the capacity to cope. And social connections. Parents with an extensive network of family, friends, and neighbors have better support in times of need. And also concrete support for parents. Caregivers with access to financial housing and other concrete resources and services that help them meet their basic needs can better attend to their role as parents. And that's true, not everybody is wealthy, and many people are struggling, and, they have a large family. It just makes it that much harder. And so if people, if parents have these sort of support mechanisms built into their lives, right, with neighbors and friends who can help them and be there with them, they would probably fare a lot better, and so would the children, right? So that's the whole issue. It's very important that people do have some support and get some support. Quite often people don't have that support. And especially single parents, they're so busy trying to make it. And quite often they don't have anybody in their life that can help them to raise their child or their children. And that's got to be very, very hard on them as being a single parent. And so that's why it's so important to reach out and get some help, right? It says nurturing and attachment. That's the first part. Parents today have a lot on their plates. Juggling the demands of work, home, and other responsibilities leaves many parents feeling like they do not have nearly enough time with their children. Small acts of kindness, protection, and caring, a hug, a smile, loving words make a big difference to children. And research consistently shows that babies who receive affection and nurturing from their parents have the chance of developing into children, teens, and adults who are happy, healthy, and competent. Research also shows that a relationship with a consistent, stable, and caring adult in the early years and associated in later life with better academic grades, healthier behaviors, more positive peer interactions, and an increased ability to cope with stress. So that's on page 23 of this guide here that we're reading from. And it says infant brains develop best when a few stable caregivers work to understand and meet their needs for love, affection, and stimulation, or provide comfort when they are hungry, bored, tired, wet, or cold. Conversely, neglectful and abusive parents can have a negative effect on brain development. Research shows that a lack of contact or interaction with the caregiver can change the infant's body chemistry, resulting in a reduction in the growth hormones essential for brain and heart development. Furthermore, the ability to feel remorse and empathy are built on experience. Children who lack early emotional attachments or who grow up fearful and expecting to be hurt will have a difficult time relating to peers. And it says, as children grow, nurturing by parents and other caregivers remains important for healthy physical and emotional development. While physical contact may become less important, listening and talking are always vital to the relationship. Parents nurture their older children by making time to listen to them, being involved, interested in the child's school and other activities, staying aware of the child or teen's interests and friends, and being willing to advocate for the child when necessary. It says, when parents spend time and energy discovering and paying attention to their children's needs, they are rewarded with positive, open, and trusting relationships with their children. And parents who develop the ability to respond sensitively to the needs of their child, no matter what age, will find parenting easier and more enjoyable. And I mean, I'd like to believe that because I sort of grew up in the opposite situation. So I'd like to think there's some truth to that. You know what I mean? They've done enough studies on it to know that there is truth in that. And you know, it's hard because, you know, we know how hard it is for parents and children alike, you know, especially at certain ages, to get along. But I think if the core values and the core the bond was set early between the parents and the child, and that child grew up from an infant all the way through their young years, knowing that that parent or parents loved them, and that even if they were in the worst trouble ever, they could go to their parents and would not be hurt, they would not be abused, you know, they would not be made to feel bad or shame brought upon them, then children will often come and talk to their parents knowing that their parents are not going to hurt them and that they're not going to throw them out of the house or any number of issues, right? So that's why it's so important to start early with this stuff and recognize that as young parents. You know, I think that's where a lot of the problem is I know myself, I would not have been equipped to have a child at a young age, and so I know that there's a lot of people out there who, you know, are having babies really young but are not mature enough to handle it, you know what I mean? And so they don't know how to parent. They don't even get the information, even though the parenting classes are out there. There's courses on it, and people that they can talk to, they're probably quite often sometimes so immature that they will not even go get that help, and they just end up hurting that child. And that's really unfortunate because the child pays the price, and due to an immature parent who will not get help. And then you have older parents who do the exact same thing, so it's not necessarily an age bias thing. You know, this happens whether it's young people who are just, you know, not quite ready to raise a family, or older people who just, you know, are not willing to do the right thing and bring up their children properly. We know that it happens. It's unfortunate. And so, you know, that's why it's so important for people to know that, you know, if you know a parent who's having a hard time struggling with their children, having discipline problems, and they think, you know, that they've shared with you, well, I don't want to hurt my child, but I don't know what to do. There's all kinds of help out there for people who are struggling in that area. And, you know, why not reach out and get some support instead of hurting that child, right? We talk about nurturing and attachment here, exploring strengths and needs. Regardless of the child's age, parents can take advantage of opportunity in their sometimes hectic lives to listen and respond to their child in a nurturing way. Even a few minutes of quality time in a car, at the store, or while cooking dinner means so much to a child. Your role as a partner with the parent is to model and acknowledge nurturing behaviors as parents make connections with their baby, child, or teen. And some parents have chosen to communicate the importance of nurturing and attachment in terms of the desired outcomes. My children feel loved, believe they matter, and can get along with others. Or simply, my children and I regularly show each other how much we love each other. And in order to explore how the parent observes and attends to the child, ask the parent how much time are you able to spend with your child or teen. And then in order to explore specific play or stimulation behaviors, ask the parent, when you spend time with your child or teen, what do you like to do together? How do you engage your child or teen during everyday activities, for instance, diapering, meals, driving in the car? What games or activities does your child or teen like? And it says here, how the parent responds to the child's behavior. They could ask the parent. This is if someone from like a sort of a partner to the parent who comes into the home to try to help this parent or these parents learn how to strengthen their family and to build these relationships. They could ask the parent, what does your child teen do when he or she is sad, angry, or tired? And what happens when your child cries for a long time, has a tantrum, wets the bed, or skips school? And because those are some really good questions, and how a parent would handle those situations is very important for people to take a look at, because those are things that can cause people to, a lot of parents either to just completely ignore the child or to overreact and abuse the child. And so, without proper knowledge on how to deal with this stuff, a lot of times children are either neglected, completely ignored, or they are abused, right? Just because of something as silly as wetting the bed or skipping class in school. And kids are going to make mistakes. They really are. And it's really good for parents to wake up and realize that their kid is not perfect, and that there is such as a perfect kid, and that kids will make mistakes. Kids are going to do all kinds of things that they should do, but you can help them. You can help them greatly, by listening and by showing that you care and that you want the best for them, and setting some really consistent ways of handling things so that there's consistency and stability, right? And a sense of values and morals, right? Instead of just screaming and raging at your child and lashing out and hitting them or throwing them out of the house, or that's just very abusive, inconsistent behavior, which causes the child to feel that they are not wanted, they're not loved, and that they're just bad, and so they may as well just be on the street, do drugs, and it causes all kinds of problems. So you want to, if you have a teen or a young child who's you're just having a hard time coping with, get some help before you do any more damage to that relationship, because it's not the kid's fault. It never is. Children, are not responsible for that relationship. Really, honestly, they don't have the ability to be the parent. So it's the parent's responsibility to make sure that they get help for themselves and also the child, not just the child, and that they get to continue on in their behavior. It's sad, but a lot of parents think that they're perfect, and they're not. And there's no perfect parent. That's why. So, that's the whole issue. You don't want to ruin your family out of some sort of ego trip, or some sort of sense that, hey, I'm perfect, I don't make mistakes, because that right there is just not true. So everyone makes mistakes, and everybody needs help every now and then, right? So there's nothing wrong with that. Your children will thank you later, right? It says here, how the parent responds to emotional needs. The partner could say, how do you know when your child or teen is happy, sad, lonely, or hurt? How do you comfort your child? This will give you an idea of how that parent actually handles the nurturing part of the whole emotional needs for that child, right? And so they go on to talk, some more of this stuff of what a partner could ask the parent in that case. They also say sharing strategies and resources to strengthen nurturing attachment. You can share resources available from your agency and throughout the community on how parents can connect with their children, listen to them, and become more involved in their lives. It is important to note that bonding is a two-way street. As children grow and develop the ability to socialize, relate, and communicate, it's easier for parents to respond positively to them. And when a child does not show a positive response to the parent due to age, disability, or other factors, the parent may need additional support. So resources to promote nurturing may include information, examples, and opportunities to practice and receive feedback in the areas of impact of nurturing on development. So information about infant and toddler development, including brain development, and the importance of an early secure attachment between parents and young children. Information on shaken baby syndrome and sudden infant death syndrome. Examples of secure parent-child attachment at all ages. And examples of how secure parent-child attachment supports positive child behavior. And it says here, parenting strategies that promote nurturing. Infant care and strategies that promote bonding and attachment. For example, rocking, using a baby carrier, responding to crying, talking lovingly, consistency within and across caregivers, and stability of primary caregivers. Cultural differences in how parents and children show affection, and what to do when your child has an emotional behavioral disability that limits his or her ability to respond to parental nurturing. Ways to nurture children at every age, how fathers nurture children, and ways to engage other important adults as part of the children's nurturing network. Ways to create and sustain healthy marriages that better support a nurturing home environment for children. And ways to create quality time to play with children in the context of daily activities. communicating effectively with older children and resolving conflicts, and using positive discipline. There are many parents, especially parents of infants, find home visits are a convenient way to access resources. For providers, home visits allow you to meet with parents in an environment where parents and children may feel most comfortable. Home visits also give you a chance to talk to the parents about any material or safety needs of the home. And it says, however, some families may not feel comfortable having strangers in their home and may prefer to meet in other settings such as a church, a school, park, or office. And for some families, a neighborhood helper or other person who shares the family's ethnic and cultural background may provide a bridge for connecting with a parent or caregiver. So this is just a little bit of information there about it. Parents, it says knowledge of parenting and child and youth development. That's the next portion of this, page 26 of this article here, of this PDF download. And it says parents their children best, their unique behaviors, interests, and abilities. They really should. But no parent can be an expert on all aspects of infant, child, and teenage development. The most effective ways to support a child at each stage. When parents are not aware of normal developmental milestones, interpret their child's behaviors in a negative way, or do not know how to respond to and effectively manage a child's behavior, they can become frustrated and may resort to harsh discipline or emotional withdrawal. There is extensive research linking healthy child development to effective parenting. And children thrive when parents provide not only affection, but also respectful communication and listening, consistent rules and expectations, and safe opportunities that promote independence. Successful parents foster psychological adjustment, helps children succeed in school, encourages curiosity about the world, and motivates children to achieve. Parenting skills are not static. As children grow and mature, parents need to change the way they respond to their children's needs. In addition, parenting styles need to be adjusted for each child's temperament and unique circumstance. Knowledge of parent and child development also changes over time, and many parenting practices that were commonly a generation ago, laying children to sleep on their stomachs, for example, are not recommended today. New research, social expectations, social structures, and even laws have come to make parenting a different task than it was even 20 years ago. Parents need access to information that is grounded in the latest research, it says. And it says, exploring strengths and needs. All parents have questions about raising children, and they need timely answers and support from someone they trust. One way to describe this is simply to acknowledge parenting is part natural and part learned. Parents may feel more comfortable voicing concerns and exploring solutions when providers focus on the parent's own hopes and needs for their children, help parents identify and build on their strengths in parenting, and model nurturing behavior, acknowledging frustrations and recognizing the parent's efforts. It says in order to explore, and then they go on to say the parent's view of his or her child's strengths, you can ask the parent, what does your child do best? And what do you like about your child? And they go on, you can read this for yourself here. There's quite a lot of this, where if you want to know like how the parent encourages healthy development, they have a series of questions that you can ask that parent. This would be the person who's partnering with this parent, help this parent now to learn how to strengthen their family and to learn how to cope and sort of problem solve in their own lives, what they can do to try to help build this relationship between their child and themselves, right? So there's some really good questions there. We won't go through them all, but we have about 2 minutes left. The next portion of this article is sharing strategies and resources to strengthen knowledge of parenting and of child youth development. Child and youth development, they do take a look at that as the child grows up, parenting, and then it goes on to talk about mental resilience. So we'll continue on with that on Friday night. So thank you so much for tuning in, everybody. We have about a minute left. I really appreciate being here. I'll be back on tomorrow night with Elizabeth Roberts, Southern Regional Dreamcatchers for Dreamcatchers for views. We'll be on Dreamcatchers Talk Radio here tomorrow night at 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And I hope you can tune in for that. That's an hour-long show. And we'll be talking about adult survivor issues, as we're both survivors. And so it's at www.blogtalkradio.com/Dreamcatchers. That's where you can catch us tomorrow night at 10 o'clock p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And I'll be back on my show tomorrow morning, One Child Abuse Survivor to Another, 6 o'clock in the morning. And again, then tomorrow night. So I hope to see you there. And have a great night. If you need anything, get a hold of me, Blog Talk Radio, or you can send me a message here or Facebook, different places you can get a hold of me. I'm always checking my emails. And, keep, looking for that information to help yourself. No matter if you're a parent who's struggling, check out Dreamcatchers for Children website, www.dreamcatchersforabusedchildren.com. And there's a handbook on there that was compiled by Donna Shear and Sandra Potter. Lots and lots of good information regarding child abuse and how to prevent it, signs and symptoms, what to look for, and how to report it. And I hope everybody will get a copy. It's a free PDF download. And so, yeah, if you need something, get a hold of one of us if we can help you find some information. Otherwise, have a great night. Take care of yourselves, and I'll be looking forward to seeing you again. Take care.